Here is a provocative possibility. You're not stuck because you don't know what to do. You're stuck because you do. And once you admit it, you can no longer hide behind uncertainty. Many people spend months, even years, telling themselves they need more clarity, more information, more time. But what if indecision is not a lack of answers? What if it's a way of avoiding consequences for the answer you already have? That idea is uncomfortable. But if it's true, the problem isn't confusion, it's courage. And that changes everything. Consider this. What if deep down you've already chosen, and what's really holding you back is facing what comes next? How often have you told yourself, I just need more time? I need to think about it. I'm not sure yet. I'll decide later. Maybe. But maybe what we call confusion is sometimes avoidance, not of the decision itself, of what the decision will require. Think of an area in your life where you feel stuck: a relationship, a career, a business, a dream you've talked about for years, a decision you keep carrying around. Now answer this honestly. If you had to choose today, what would you choose? Most people already know. That's the fascinating part. The answer often appears instantly, not because it's easy, but because somewhere deep inside, the decision has already been made. And that's where the real struggle begins. Because every decision costs something. It creates change, closes doors, creates responsibility, forces us to stop living in possibility and start living in reality. And reality can be uncomfortable. As long as we don't decide, we keep our options open. We imagine every possible future, delay the discomfort, avoid disappointing others and ourselves. But eventually, indecision becomes a decision. Choosing not to choose is still a choice. And sometimes years pass while we tell ourselves we're still thinking about it, when in reality, we've been choosing the familiar all along, not because it's better, but because it feels safe. And familiarity often feels safer than uncertainty. But maybe uncertainty isn't keeping you from moving forward. Maybe it's grief, because every decision requires letting something go. An old identity, an old dream, an expectation, a relationship, a story. And maybe that's why so many people stay stuck. Not because they don't know what they want, because they haven't allowed themselves to grieve what they're leaving behind. Think about that. Every new chapter requires the end of an old one. Endings can be complicated, even when they're necessary, even when they're healthy. and even when they're leading us somewhere better. Because we don't just lose what was painful, we lose what was familiar, the routines, the identities, the expectations, the versions of ourselves that we've known for years. And sometimes we're not resisting the future, we're mourning the past. But if that's true, maybe moving forward doesn't require more certainty. Maybe it requires acceptance. Acceptance that some chapters are complete. Acceptance that some versions of ourselves have done all they're meant to do. Acceptance that holding on is costing more than letting go. Because here's what I've noticed: people want a new life, but they don't want to release the old one. They want the next chapter without ending the current chapter. They want change without loss, growth without discomfort, movement without surrender. But life rarely works that way. Sometimes the doorway to the future is only accessible when we stop carrying everything from the past. So maybe the real question isn't, why can't I move forward? Maybe it's, what am I still holding on to? Because the answer can reveal more than years of overthinking ever will. And once you see it, another question emerges. What becomes possible when I stop delaying the decision? Because clarity doesn't always come before the decision. Sometimes it arrives because you finally made one. And movement reveals what endless thinking never will. So here's something to consider. Think about one area of your life where you've been unable to move forward. Now ask yourself, have I not really decided? Or am I avoiding the consequences of a decision I've already made? Then ask, what am I afraid that I'll have to let go of if I finally move forward? Be honest, because honesty is where freedom begins. And sometimes the next chapter begins when we finally stop pretending that we don't already know. The beliefs that shaped your past don't have to define your future. But first, you may need to let go of that old version of your life that you've outgrown. So before you move on, take a moment and name it. What decision have you been postponing? And if you're completely honest with yourself, do you already know the answer? If this resonated with you, don't just think about it, respond to it. Write down the decision. Share it with someone you trust, or leave a comment. Put it into words. Sometimes the first act of courage is admitting what you already know. What's one choice you're ready to stop avoiding today? I'd love to hear. And until next time, stay curious.